G'day guys, I'm Matt Brand, and this is the 2021 Mazda CX-9. Now, the Mazda CX-9 has just gone through a facelift or minor refresh, whatever you want to call it, and it brings with it some cool new additions, some new tech, you've got some new interior options, but that's not why I'm excited to talk to you today. Of course, we will be talking about that. I have to, it's part of my job. But I'm really excited for the fact that this is one of just 110 Mazda CX-9 coming to Australia with the 100th anniversary package. It is a limited edition package and brings with it things like that. Look at that. That's awesome. And I'm clearly pretty excited. So let's just get straight into the review. Now, the Mazda CX-9 starts at just under 47,000 Australian dollar dues. Of course, that is for the base model. And it is a front wheel drive car, but you really want to spend the extra $5,000 across the range to get the all-wheel drive system. Because put simply, this engine is just too damn powerful. Step up to this Azami 100th anniversary limited edition, and you are expecting to pay around about 74,000 Australian dollars drive away. But I actually really like that, the fact that you can step into a CX-9 for not that much money. Now, engine choice is pretty simple because you only get one across the range. A 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine that pumps out 170 kilowatt of power and 420 newton meters of torque. And yes, that does mean there is no diesel, and you might be disappointed by that fact, but let me tell you, except for fuel economy, this thing just trumps over a diesel car, or at least a diesel equivalent. And there's no better way of showing you that than through a bit of launch control. The 0 to 100 or 0 to 62 miles per hour, oh my God. Oh man. Yeah, it's about 7.8 seconds. Oh, I love this engine. Now, it's not necessarily fast, but it certainly is nippy. A lot of car journalists rave about this engine and call it a hot hatch. I wouldn't go that far. What I would say though is that it certainly is plenty of grunt and power. It's more of a warm hatch. Now, all of that power is sent through a 6-speed automatic transmission across the range again, through to the front wheels only or an all-wheel drive system, which is front wheel drive bias. Now, as I said, if you're getting a CX-9, definitely option the all-wheel drive system, because if you only have a front wheel drive, that is a lot of power going to the front wheels, and you'll get heaps of torque, steer, and pretty unnerving characteristics in a 2-ton vehicle. But it's funny because, as I said, this is a front wheel drive biased all-wheel drive system, and that means that when you do put your foot down, you still do get a bit of torque steer, a bit of tram lining, like things that you would expect out of a hot hatch. And honestly, it's fun in this application because it's fully controllable. I have no issues with it. It allows for some spirited driving. Now, I will say that the transmission is absolutely tuned for economy driving. What I mean by that is that this transmission will try and keep the engine revs around about 1,500 RPM, which is incredibly low, but it's on purpose. And so when you are driving around town, it is actually very quiet in here. The noise floor is extremely low. It's a very supple ride. But don't go expecting some sort of hot hatch performance out of this thing, because you're not gonna get it. But anyway, we'll come back to how it drives. For now, I want to talk about how it looks. Excuse me here while I give it some of that supple sauce. That's really impressive. Now, for an SUV that came out about 5 years ago, this thing actually looks pretty damn decent. The front is absolutely enormous. It's gigantic. The grille is just the size of my apartment. But apart from that, it's actually quite simple. There's definitely a minimalist theme going on here, which is by design actually. Mazda use a Kodo design language. That's the name of the way that their cars all look. And it's all about minimalism. And so apart from the giant grille, you get a couple of headlights. The headlights are extremely small for such a large car, but they are really nice, good daytime running lights, good turning signals. The low beam and high beam on them are super bright with these adaptive LED lights. And you do get a giant chrome bar connecting them, but that's it. That's all that's going on, and I like it. This side is not the prettiest in my opinion, but really, what SUV is that beautiful from the side? It is large. This thing is actually one of the largest new cars sold in Australia, about 5.1 meters long. It's big. And that's by design actually, because it's meant really for the US market, which is also why it comes with a turbo petrol engine and a 6-speed torque converter transmission. All of that is loved by the US market, and it's a really great application, let me tell you. But anyway, the side is pretty handsome. You get some chrome going around there, but my favorite part of all are the 20-inch wheels. They've got like this gunmetal finish to them. They look really nice. And then within them, and this just shows that Mazda's attention to detail, you have little 100th anniversary badges within the center caps. It's very cool. You also get a 100th anniversary badge on the side, 1920 to 2020. Again, a cool look. And that's the only way you can distinguish this 100th anniversary limited edition from every other CX-9 out there. And then the rear again is SUV. It's huge, but it's also following that minimalist look. You have two very small taillights. Again, joining them is a massive chrome bar. And then apart from the pretty massive dual tailpipes down the bottom, there's not much else going on. But I'm curious, what do you guys think of the way the CX-9 looks? Do you think it's looking a bit bloated, or is it really cool? Let me know in the comment section below. Alrighty, a little bit more sauce, just a little bit. Wow, that's good. That's good. All right, now I want to move on to the interior of the CX-9, but before we do, if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can see as soon as I release awesome car reviews like this. And while you're at it, please do like the video. It really, really helps the channel out. Thank you very much. All right, enough pitching. Let's get into the interior. Let's start with what's exclusive for this 100th anniversary edition. The first thing you notice is the tri-color design. It is stunning within here. The blacks, the whites, and this really deep burgundy. Of course, these seats are burgundy in color and they are Napa leather seats. The flooring and matting within the CX-9 is all that red burgundy. You get little 100th anniversary badges. Also, look at the seats. Look at the embossing that's been done up on the headrest. It looks insanely cool. You know, even the key has a special design to it. It's just Mazda's attention to detail is purely and simply impeccable. And that kind of shows around the rest of the cabin. Everywhere you touch is nice material, soft touch, and that really helps to soak up road noise. And of course, to feel really comfortable. Feels so substantial in here, like you've really bought a luxury car, which is what Mazda are trying to achieve. And I think they've really achieved it in the CX-9. Even things like this center armrest is so soft and comfortable. And you've got like this memory foam in the doors. It's just all really nice and frankly, incredibly impressive. Oh yeah, you also get a sunroof. Wunderbar. In terms of ergonomics and practicality, well, the steering wheel is tilting and telescoping quite a lot, and the seats are adjusting in like a bajillion ways. You've got two cup holders in the center, two more in the doors. The door bins are a reasonable size. The glove box is pretty large too. The glove box has quite a lot of storage within it. You've also got two USBs in there, and you've got a little wireless charging tray for your phone, and then more storage behind that. And then a little hidden 12-volt socket right down on the passenger side. It's very practical within here, as you would expect for such a large SUV. Now, I definitely want to talk about these seats. I absolutely love these seats, but there has been a little bit of mixed reception to them, purely because it is very outlandish within here. But for me, I just love it. As I said, they're Napa leather, super comfortable. They feel great. They are heated and they're cooled too. No more sweaty backs here in the Australian just summer constantly. And yeah, I just think they look great. I think they really suit the character of this car. And of course they go so well with the red floor matting. It's all red and I really like it. The steering wheel is classic Mazda, which is to say very good. It is super soft and just comfy to hold. And then you have buttons to control absolutely everything. And a special mention to the adaptive cruise control. It will bring you to a stop and resume as well. And then you've also got lane centering assist, which is pretty good on the Mazda. Not number one out there, but still very nice, especially for highway driving. Now let's give it some more of that juicy sauce. Wow. You also get paddle shifters so you can row through the gears yourself. And a special mention to the stalks that come off the side. They're a pretty cool design, I like them. Up front, you get a digital instrument cluster, well, partially digital anyway. On the left-hand side, you have a nice big bright tachometer. Right-hand side, you have your temperature and your fuel gauge. And then in the center, you get an analog-looking digital screen. It's kind of redundant, but it shows enough information in it, and it looks nice. Again, just makes it look premium. And although you don't get a speed readout in this gauge, or at least I can't figure out how to turn it on, you do get a heads-up display, and that does show you quite a bit of information. It's a bit on the small side, but again, a really nice feature to have. And then new for this facelift is this 10.25-inch infotainment display, and it is such an upgrade over the previous infotainment screen, and really elevates this interior and makes it a car that, you know, I can actually recommend. Now, although it's not a touch screen and you have to use the scroll wheel down in the center, it is super easy to use. And I was pretty scared about using things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay because it does come with that, but it's actually incredibly easy to navigate once you get your head around it, which takes like a minute. So a very small learning curve. It is now incredibly high definition, super functional as well, digital radio, navigation of course, and connected to it is a Bose sound system. And oh my God, this is like the best speakers I have ever heard in a car. I was shocked when I heard that. They're really, really good. So if you care about music, you'll love this. It's also got a 360 camera and it's decent. It's not the best out there, but it does the job. Then we have the rear seats, and also new for 2021, you can get captain's chairs now. So instead of a 7-seater configuration, you have a 6-seater configuration. Now that only does come in the top spec Azami LE, I believe it's called. And honestly, unless you're driving around adults back there often, it's really unnecessary. And this 7-seat configuration is still incredibly good and comfortable. Back there, I have plenty of leg room, headroom, and toe room. You of course get the same beautiful red Napa leather seats. In terms of amenities, you get a 3rd zone for climate control back there and heated outboard seats. You of course get peasant blockers to shield your children from prying eyes. And the seats do recline and slide. Oh yeah, and you also get 2 USB ports, but it is in the center armrest. And although I haven't tried to route cables through there, you would think that if there's 3 people sitting back there, you couldn't use them, right? So, I don't know, that seems a bit weird. And then for the 3rd row, it is really easy to get into the rear, though it does take a second for the rear seats to register that you've pressed the button, which is odd. Still at 5'11", I have an impressive amount of leg room, headroom. Toe room is not that great, but still pretty good. And then you get 2 extra USB ports back there and more cup holders. So it's a very practical 7-seat SUV, and you can fit 7 people within here, as you would hope for such a long vehicle. Boot space is not the greatest, surprisingly. 230 litres with all 3 rows up, which isn't that great. 810 litres with the 3rd row folded down, which is decent. It's pretty good. And then you have like an infinite amount of space when you put all 3 rows down. And it's a flat loading bay too, so you can get things in and out pretty easily. Enough about practicality. Let's talk about how this thing drives. As I said, you get a pretty potent engine. It's no hot hatch, but it is a warm hatch, I'll concede. But because the transmission is just so smooth, upshifts are seamless, downshifts are seamless, it's really like you're driving a very, very refined diesel engine, because torque is available so low in the rev range, and it really tries to keep revs below 2,000 pretty much at all times. But of course, when you want to have a bit of fun, you can put the car into sport mode and you can floor the snot out of this thing, and it becomes very responsive and quite lively. However, for most people, you want to know about how comfortable it is, and I can tell you that the suspension is tuned so well. Now, it's no sports car. It does handle very well for such a large car, but yeah, it's not a sports car. There is body roll when you turn the wheel. You know, steering is light, but still on kind of heavy side, actually, as I turn the steering wheel. Figure that out. But the way that the suspension is set up, it's definitely tuned for comfort, not for sport, but what that means in everyday driving is it is just so damn comfortable. It is a luxury experience driving this thing around because the noise floor is so low. You don't hear a lot of road noise, tire noise, especially once you put the sound system on. It's incredible, and you just waft along the road. Even if you hit a pothole, something hard, it's like you don't even feel it. And that's really impressive for a car that doesn't have any adaptive dampers, that doesn't have any air suspension. It's incredibly impressive. And what that really translates to is a car that kind of can do it all. It can go around a fun back road and not be too unruly, or you can just drive around town knowing that you're comfortable. And so I've had quite a few cars this week, and all of those reviews will be coming out shortly or have come out, and I have been going to the CX-9 every single time just to get back in it if I need to drive somewhere, because it's just so good. Honestly, very impressive. It doesn't feel as big as it is, and that's a good thing. Now, in terms of fuel economy, it's pretty poor. At the moment, I'm averaging about 12.5 litres per 100 kilometers. That is mostly urban driving, but still, you know, it's not that great. Man, this thing handles so well. So then in terms of is it worth it, I would say absolutely yes. You probably don't need the top spec. It does come fully loaded, but a step down would be a pretty good setup. If you get one of these in the mid 60s, you'd be doing very well. As long as you get that Bose sound system, it sounds so good. Makes a difference, I promise. If you're looking for a car that is known for reliability and really is a luxury car, I don't think you can look much further past the CX-9. It's just a great package. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please do like it and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see you around. Definitely hit that notification bell too, so you can see as soon as I release an awesome new review every single week. And let me know your thoughts on the CX-9. Do you own one? Do you want to own one? Or do you hate it? I'm curious. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, I will see you next week.